Hello there folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel, a place where I discuss different topics like sociology, game interpretation, dream interpretation, and several others including spirituality, and of course I volunteer myself in case you are having video game projects that you want some constructive feedback on. Feel free to give me a link and I'll do what I can. And I'll also throw in some videos on that and present my points and my takeaways from the certain game. Now to dive into today's idea, the question that I thought about is a very quite typical one. It's not frequently asked, but it's a very pesky question that a lot of people ask, and probably they don't know the subterfuges of that, or they know them but they need some kind of confirmation because that's how little we ended up believing in ourselves. So the question is, how does it feel to be like, whatever, okay, like this, like that, like, how does it feel to be enlightened, or how does it feel to be in whatever way possible, okay? Now, when this actually happens, okay, this question first of all implies a habit, which is, a habit is something that a person has gotten used to, and I say a person because a person, emanates from persona, which means a mask, and therefore the point is very simple, okay? A habit is something repetitive, so it is therefore done non-consciously, okay? It's not many things can be done repetitively and consciously, okay? I mean, it's not that one couldn't, but it's much easier to do it subconsciously, okay? Because the subconscious can have much better control over certain things to a certain extent. Now, what differentiates us from animals is the fact that, the actions that we take, we can also take fully consciously, because that's what differentiates us from animals, okay? Now, I'm not saying that animals are not conscious of a lot of things. Yes, they are also conscious of those, but they use their subconscious mind because they're connected to their, um, I wouldn't say past lives, but they are connected to their evolutionary memory, okay? There is something like this, and that is why the predator always knows how to survive, what prey to find, and how to take that into account, okay? Because each and every individual, once they do a certain thing, it's encrusted in a, let me actually take it like a collective consciousness, okay? And living in a certain vibration in which their survival is always their own one and only focal point, okay? That gives them access to certain dimensions of life, okay? And through that they get the, let's say, ideas, whatever they have to do, okay? For example, when they need to hunt, when they need to look out for dangers, because basically any animal that you watch in the wilderness, they're always fixated on their survival, so therefore they're more like on a subconscious level, okay? Because if you live in worries and fears, okay, those are aspects, okay, that regard the past. If you don't live in the present, then you're definitely not living consciously, because you can't live consciously in any other, let's say, time frame than the inevitable present, okay? Each and every moment is inevitable in their own way. So when people ask this question, how does it feel to be like this, okay, it's let's say, beside a, advertising usage in which it can be used in very devious ways, when someone genuinely asks another person how does it feel to be like, first of all, it is an expectation that can be felt, and can be felt somehow lower self-esteem, because this question can easily stem from a belief that whatever that person or being or human, let's say, achieved, it's not gonna be possible for that person, okay? Because I'm not interested in how it feels to be, I don't know, a well-known AI designer or developer, okay? I'm just gonna work towards that, okay? Like, uh, I don't allow myself, or not, I can't say allow, okay, but it simply doesn't exist to me to simply uh, be interested in how it feels for other people. Okay, they have their own feelings, I have my own. Okay, and this can also come from expectations of themselves, okay, from that specific person who asks the question, but at the same time this can also be projected on the other person because it's much easier. Okay, like when the person feels that, let's say, they suck, which is kind of a hideous thinking way that it's constantly propagated even nowadays after thousands of generations. Okay, when you have such lower self-esteem, the problem is you will have expectations of the other people to simply be much more than they actually are, and most likely some people end up with the expectation that that person actually will tell them something. Okay, they will actually take them into account, but people who are at least somewhat successful, they kind of don't have, or they simply don't allow themselves the time for that because they have dreams and they simply can't allow themselves to you know not spend their time productively towards their own dreams fulfillment. Okay, and there are a lot of people who simply have this expectation that just that they attend some of these people's live events, they will simply be taken notice of, and it's not actually the best um, way of thinking, let's say it, because, well, it's not a good way to think things. And it's usually what I say about expectations is that they're the pathway to almost sure and certain disappointment. Okay, so when someone asks how does it feel to be like, okay, they are a person who most likely they allow themselves to be distracted because there are problems in their life and they wouldn't take responsibility for those. And they're probably spending more time dreaming towards what they would want to achieve in life, but most likely less. I'm not gonna say at all, okay, like not at all, but probably more time is spent on dreaming rather than achieving something or working towards something, because it's easy to get stuck in illusionary questions like I don't know what to do next, or this sounds a bit too difficult, I will wait for the like for the best day. This is not how things will work. Okay, um, like I'm 19 months into game design for my own projects. One I think is complete. I have been, I put it a bit aside for the main project to, rehearse some things, to correct a lot of the older things that I did in, like less optimized ways, and I'm just working towards that. Okay, like I'm not imagining that much how it will end up. I sure do that as well, but I've had a lot of situations in which I didn't know what to do, but I simply kept on because my project, any project that I create, ends up being so complex. It's like if I can't find a way to solve something, that's not necessarily gonna be an issue because I have so many other things to focus on, and I'm doing like literally everything. So um, there's a lot of things to simply pick on. So yeah, that's one point. So when someone asks you how does it feel to be like this, okay, I actually have been asked this question a few times, and it mainly seems as of what I felt about those few people, so I'm not generalizing. Generalization is not something that you'll be finding in my videos unless I accidentally do it, but consciously and non-accidentally I do not generalize because I see this as almost a psychiatric disease, because just because some people do something, it doesn't mean that everyone does it. But I'm surrounded by a lot of people who kind of function like this. Okay, so yeah, those people would ask me how is it that, for example, I am somewhat cheerful, okay, and irrespective of certain things, or I don't react much to certain things. Well, you're not born like this, or technically you are, but you're screwed up by a lot of people. And I'm not gonna start with fake guru advertising that your parents screwed you and something like that. Yes, it can be a point, but also I'm not gonna take into account what most spiritualist so-called teachers say. I mean, everyone has their own experience, but I simply don't embrace the idea that I was born here to simply go through certain things to acquire a certain level of understanding and the such, and it was all preordained. No, 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 no. That thing doesn't work with me. Okay, so I was asked certain things, and what I could feel was those persons were kind of inclined, like almost, I can't say fanatical, but they were very sure that that cannot happen to them. Okay, like they would probably dream to be like me, but I actually got told by certain people, more like rhetorically, if the world was like me, and I was something like, because I kind of have a passion of breaking illusions and dreams, and I was like, well, if the world was like me, most likely the world would have been gone long since. And many people would think that, hey, how come? Well, if everyone was like me, the whole race would have my own weaknesses. So therefore, without any variation, we would simply perish if something specifically against me simply happened in nature. Okay, like I don't know, a new disease or a type of problem I may not psychologically or emotionally handle, right? A lot of things, and like each and every person has their own, let's say, violent sides, and I'm sure a lot of people may not handle the, I can't say negativity, but the wilderness that is within my mind. Okay, it's not easy to contain at times, and I'm sure some people, let's say some, not many, may not necessarily easily handle that. Okay, so it comes from a lower self-esteem. Okay, now there are other people who kind of put you on a pedestal. Okay, I've had this happen to me. It seems to be somewhat in my aura, and people would see me like this kind of god. Okay, like all knowledgeable being or something like that, and like even when I was at high school, people would ask certain things, and I was kind of always the one to find an answer. And one moment, for example, at the master degree, after like 1 year of this thing, I actually said once, like, I don't know. Okay, like I'm not afraid of saying I don't know, and like the other person was like, oh my god, I actually heard this once. Like, how can it be that you don't know? It's like, dude, I might know some things. Okay, like I've seen hundreds of documentaries in my life. I can't say necessarily thousands, but at least hundreds I know I've seen, because when I was a child, for like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years, I'd see 2, 3, 4, 5 Discovery Channel documentaries. Later on, I'd see stuff on YouTube, and like I would at a certain time know by heart many of the YouTube documentaries, for example, on black holes, or the Meerkat Manor series, and uh, several other things. Okay, so I've seen literally hundreds of documentaries, and I can say I've forgotten more than uh, some people may have learned in their whole life. But this is not something that I'm gonna boast about, because I'm not here to boast about my things. I am here to indeed underline that I am someone, but well, I'm technically nothing, because well, it's much better to be nothing than something. Okay, so how does it feel to be like this? Okay, it's a question in which people may put you on a pedestal. So being put on a pedestal means that those people will have great expectations of you, probably increasing expectations. And when they do, the problem is, if they're not met, then they're gonna try to pull you down, and they're probably impose some suffering on themselves, because they thought you are like this. And I'm never the same being. Okay, because I simply can't be in one single way. I always fluctuate, because that's how life is. And people may get stuck in the sense that they know one or two things about me. Oh, okay, they know everything about me, and then they're simply mind blown when they see me act in a different way. And well, I'm not having masks. I like That's who and what I am. So yeah, and this can also be a bit of an egotistical aspect. Okay, because some people might definitely want to be like you, and it's like a prelude to being copied. Okay, copycatted, because you see, um, usually any question that someone asks, okay, in many situations it will only be met with a story, okay? Especially if you ask why questions, you're gonna most likely be met with a story. Why? Because most likely those people are asking you because they haven't yet experienced what you have been through, okay? Like if someone asks you what it is like to be always cheerful, okay, most likely they acknowledge they're not at your own level, so most likely they haven't experienced what you have experienced, okay? So without that experience as a grounding, okay, what you are telling them is nothing else than a story, and they have the possibility to believe it or discard it. Many people unfortunately believe things, and belief means accepting something without the necessity for proof. So when they believe that, okay, it is better to also put the disclaimer that, I also use that everything that I present in here is, well, personal experiences as well as some beliefs. So don't hurry or don't rush in taking whatever I say for granted, okay? So, yes, what I wanted to say in short is this question kind of reveals a lower self, okay? Or it can be a devious way of simply putting you on a pedestal. It can be, but I doubt in all situations, like in a very few situations, it can be a narcissistic tactic of, putting you up high so that one would gain your trust and then, trash you in time afterwards. But usually it shows a bit of an ego, right? They're not very good, but they would want to be. Or it can show you being put on a pedestal for your experience, okay? It can be something good, like those people are taking you as an example, and uh, when you see someone who's better than you at something, you want to follow them so that you upgrade yourself. That's pretty good. And well, when you're put on a pedestal, it can be somewhat wrong, or it can be somewhat bad, because well, expectations can pop up. Now, I really don't know exactly why I was hinted at doing this video. Hopefully you learned something. I'm gonna wrap it here because it's not that I don't have much to talk about it, but well, I don't want to make videos that are too long, okay? So all this being considered, take care of yourselves. You are loved and appreciated. Whatever you are doing is the best you can at the right pace for you. All this being said, Ferenc on board, signing out.